If you're skinny fat, what should you do? Should you bulk up, try to add a ton of muscle, or should you focus first on fat loss, getting lean before adding a ton of size? In today's video, I'm gonna outline my entire skinny fat solution. There's 4 phases. Each one is gonna get you closer and closer to that ideal physique and ultimately eliminate this skinny fat situation that you're currently in. First, let's define exactly what is skinny fat, because ultimately there are people out there who are literally just overweight, who want to add some muscle, but can really just go right into a fat loss phase and don't need to worry so much about adding a lot of size. Personally, I look at skinny fat as someone who has got very little workout experience. They haven't stuck to an actual training plan long enough to see any muscle start getting added to their frame. This is typically someone who has done maybe more cardio over the years or just hasn't trained at all, and now they want to get rid of the belly fat that's accumulated over the years and they want to start adding some muscle. Typically, this is someone who carries too much body fat, but just zero muscle to go along with that. So there's just no point in losing a lot of weight because you're already too skinny, but you want to lose that body fat. So how do we go about that? Let's break down the entire system right now. Being skinny fat feels frustrating, but the good news is there's a lot we can accomplish. And it starts with the first phase. Phase number 1 is called the recomp phase. This is where we are going to go after both the goal of getting leaner and adding some muscle in the process. But I want to be clear with you up front. Adding muscle typically takes a lot more time than losing body fat. Now, you might be someone who can add muscle faster naturally because of your genetic makeup. And because you've never actually really trained with weights, you don't know yet. And so when you start working out, you might be one of the lucky few who get some really fast results. But I'll just speak for myself here and let you know that adding muscle for me took some time. It took years of being consistent with getting stronger in the gym, being good with my form, becoming a perfectionist with training itself, and really mastering this whole thing we call working out. Now, I don't think you need to become a fitness freak, but I do think that you need to be patient when it comes to building muscle. On the other side, losing fat is a much faster process, especially when you get a simple system like the one I'm about to outline here in place that you can follow religiously without too much stress. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get our calories dialed in. We're gonna have what I call a moderate deficit. So you have a certain amount of calories that you burn every day just through your day-to-day activities, your workouts, when you sleep, you're constantly burning calories. If you ate the same amount of calories that you burn every day, you would just maintain your weight. If you ate more than what you burn, you'd gain weight. Now, in a typical fat loss phase, we're gonna eat quite a bit less calories than we burn every day so that we can start to see some noticeable fat loss process. But in a recomp phase, we're gonna have a moderate deficit because we still wanna have enough fuel to go in and hit our workouts really hard. We wanna have enough recovery fuel, and we wanna be able to get enough protein in to start building some muscle. So a moderate deficit would be anywhere around a couple hundred calories below your maintenance level. So you're really not gonna feel too much hunger here. And truth be told, you're not gonna see rapid fat loss, but you will start to see the fat come off. You're gonna notice that your physique starts to look fuller, more muscular because you're getting the right amount of carbs you need, your protein requirements are being hit, and you have enough fuel to go in and train properly. And the good news is we don't need to train every single day. In fact, you don't wanna train every single day so that your recovery isn't slowed down. We wanna train 3 to 4 times per week with a systematic process where you're getting stronger week over week. You're hitting each muscle group with the proper amount of volume, and you're noticing progress month over month. Back to nutrition, we wanna keep our protein high during this period of time because the last thing we want is to lose any amount of muscle that you currently carry, and we wanna give your body almost more than it needs to build more muscle. I'm not one of those guys that's gonna tell you to eat outrageous amounts of protein, but about 1 gram per pound of body weight is a good target in this recomp phase. We don't need to go overboard with cardio. I would stick to 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day, just enough to burn enough calories to get us in that slight calorie deficit. The recomp phase lasts about 12 weeks, and then we wanna reassess. Have we lost body fat? Have we built some strength and a little bit of muscle? Do we feel like we're seeing noticeable progress? Do we feel good about ourselves? If so, we can move into the next phase. Now, what we're gonna do here is we're gonna move into what I call the build phase. The build phase is another 8 to 12 weeks where we're gonna focus on building some muscle. We got rid of some body fat over the last few months, and so now we've set our bodies up for a nice healthy rebound to build some muscle, but we gotta be responsible here. We don't wanna go crazy with calories. We're not going to quote unquote bulk up. A dirty bulk is really just an excuse for getting fat. I've done this a couple times. It's not worth the headache that comes after this phase where we have to lose all that body fat, only to find we've only gained maybe a pound or two of muscle. The big key here is we wanna keep fat gain to a minimum. I don't want you guys seeing the scale go up by a pound or two every single day. In fact, I'd only suggest seeing the scale go up by maybe half a pound a week. This ensures that we're building muscle, which takes time if you remember, not adding a bunch of body fat just to see the number on the scale go up. The cardio recommendations here, I'd say about 6,000 to 8,000 steps per day, sometimes a little bit more, but usually just enough to keep our cardiovascular system healthy. And then once again, we're only training 3 to 4 days a week. We need those active rest days where all we do is walk, maybe stretch, do some sauna, do some cold therapy. We need those active rest days for our body to build the actual muscle that we're trying to add. We're going through phase 2, and I'll just stop here for a second and let you know, I put together a video on what I would do if I was starting at 30% body fat and I wanted to get down to 10% body fat. I think it's really, really helpful. And if someone is watching out there that has an enormous amount of body fat that they want to get rid of, I would go through and watch that video once you're done with this video because it's going to give you more tips on fat loss, which is what we're about to talk about. So go check that one out. Phase number 3 is what I call the burn phase. Now, here's where we're going all in on fat loss. We've done the recomp, we've built some muscle now for 8 to 12 weeks, and then we're moving into the burn phase. This is a full-blown fat loss phase. Here's the deal though. You always want to train to build muscle. So a really good idea here is actually to throw in some strength work at the beginning of this phase inside the gym. So your body is still focused on holding on to as much muscle and even maybe building a little bit throughout the course of the next few months. But with calories, we're gonna go into a heavier deficit. So we find our maintenance calories, we're gonna go 5 to maybe even 800 below that. So you start to see noticeable fat loss every single week. You're gonna start to see the scale come down, you're gonna start to see the body lean out, and you're gonna start to really see all the definition that you've wanted. You've added some size, so you're not gonna be scared to lose weight. You're not gonna be scared to get too skinny if you've done things right here. And ultimately, the leaner you get, the bigger you're gonna look anyway. The more impressive your physique is going to appear. So don't stress the scale more than just tracking your progress. Use the mirror, use pictures to really see the noticeable results. But ultimately, phase 4 is gonna wrap things up before we potentially start the whole process over again. Phase 4 is the maintain phase. Now, this is the one that most people completely skip, but there's a couple things that happen during this maintain phase. First of all, if we've done fat loss right, we're gonna need to do a small, what I call reverse diet, where we do some metabolic repair. We're gonna wanna start to increase our calories again, but being mindful to focus on maintaining our weight, not gaining a bunch of weight. Our metabolism most likely slowed down a little bit as you were getting leaner, so we wanna build that back up responsibly. I don't want you going from a fat loss phase where you're eating 800 calories below maintenance, all the way back up to 300 calories above maintenance, where you'll start to see rapid fat gain because your metabolism just can't handle that. So adding back in calories systematically, a few hundred calories every week, before finally getting back to maintenance, and then moving to a more intuitive approach. I don't want you having to track calories all the time. I want you to be able to look at food, know what you need to eat, and start to listen to your hunger cues so that you can actually just live your life. This is really the lifestyle phase where you need to pay attention to how you're feeling, what your body's doing, and occasionally hopping on the scale just to keep yourself honest and accountable. Now, these 4 phases work together really, really well, especially for the skinny fat need, where you just need to build your body and lose body fat throughout the course of the whole entire process. Here's the beautiful thing though, you can do this process as many times as needed to get your physique to where it needs to go. The only thing I'll mention here is that sometimes these individual phases need to be a little bit longer, or even in some cases shorter, depending on where you are in your experience and in your own personal journey. For example, if you get back to the build phase, you might want to stay in the build phase for a longer period of time this time to really add some serious size. But just once again, be mindful not to add too much body fat. And if you aren't carrying as much body fat the next time you hit the burn phase, well, good news, you may not need to cut for 12 weeks. You may only need a 6-week cut. This is how you start to develop an intuition when it comes to your fitness as you go through the rest of your life.